everyone, I'm Monique Isaacs and I'm here with Di Holden. We want to know a little bit about your riding history. How did you start with horses?
I've always loved horses, but as a kid I used to be the first one to line up at a church fete or a fairground to have a ride on something, as long as it was big enough for me to get on, because I was always very tall. Never had lessons until I turned 40, after my youngest daughter had gotten into riding as a therapy for her, and I thought, oh, that'd be fun to get back into that. And just sort of went from there, and I started competing, and I became a member of Kellyville Riding Club with my daughter. And used to take old Lombro out there down to lessons and clinics, and yeah, even did some show jumping on him, believe it or not. So yeah, that's sort of how I got into riding on a more regular basis.
What was the catalyst to call Peter Haynes of Peter Haynes Coaching?
Well, 3 years ago, I bought this very interesting horse, sight unseen. He arrived off on the float, and we thought there was a rhinoceros in there. There was so much noise, and I thought, oh my God, what's coming off this float? So for 2 weeks I did lunging and groundwork, and I thought, yeah, he seems pretty quiet. At that stage I hadn't realised the power of this horse, and I thought, oh, I'll get on, and made a monumental mistake of being here by myself, and just got on in that show jump paddock, and thought, yep, well, as soon as I got on, he was like a coiled spring and just bucked me off. So I hit the ground, and that was very early on in the piece, about 3 weeks after I bought him. So that's, I suppose, where I initially lost all my confidence with him, and thought, oh, I don't want to get hurt again, because I'd had, shoulder and knee reconstructions, and I didn't want to get hurt. So I had someone else riding initially who did a bit of work with him just to try and desensitise him. But then I still wasn't getting anywhere with my riding. I was still terrified every time I got on the horse, because I was expecting something to happen. He'd either spook or he'd jump sideways or whatever, and I just lost my confidence completely. So I was ready to give up on him had I not found someone who was prepared to work with me rather than just tell me to get rid of the horse.
What was the first thing that you guys started to work on? What was the first thing that you needed to do?
The first 2 lessons, Peter said, what you've got to do is get this horse going forward. Then he's too busy to be bothering about spooking at anything. You've got to get him going forward. So I rode him in the show jump paddock, because that's where I was having the greatest difficulty with him, because I would just freeze up on him expecting something to happen. So Domino would be kind of doddering around like an old fool and taking advantage of me. A big thing with Domino is to keep him moving forward. Yeah. Otherwise, that's when he starts spooking. And
so, Di, obviously after all of this work that you've done with Peter Haynes, that's now resulted in you to actually get out there a lot more and start hitting some goals. My
goal was to get him out to a Hawkesbury Riding Club, because I'd never actually taken him out on my own. And so I took him down with a friend a couple of times, just to the riding club days, to walk him around, give him a lunge, and just to get my confidence on the ground with him, because he can be quite naughty on the ground when he's having one of his Domino days. I thought maybe the time's come that I should just go for it and enter the Hawkesbury Riding Club Dressage Day, which was my first dressage day probably in 7 years. So the first one was rained out in April, then they rescheduled it for May, and it was still pouring with rain that day, but we still went. Myself and one of my students, she took her horse that she's only had for about 6 months. I took Domino. Yeah, I got a second place with a score of 63% in the first test.
That's fantastic! Congratulations! High five!
Thank you. And the second one we got 4th place. Look, it was a really positive day for both of us. Domino was the ultimate gentleman, the sort of horse that I always wanted. That he reminded me of my old horse Lombro, in terms of he looked after me. He didn't put a foot wrong. We were both being belted with torrential rain, and yet nothing bothered him. And I thought I could ride through this rubbish at home, and yet if he's going to be that good when he goes out, well, it's going to make life a lot more fun for me.
Sure does.
Yeah. So it was a good day. It was a good day, and I haven't forgotten it yet. I've still got my 2 ribbons, which are still attached to my dressage test. So that was pretty exciting. And Peter does say, just shut up and ride. Don't worry about external influences. I get very tense when things are going on around me. And that happened a day in a lesson, probably the beginning of this year, when the horse had this, monumental spook turn and run during a lesson. But even then, I didn't really feel that I was going to fall off. It just frightened me.
He was a bit naughty that day.
He was a little bit naughty that day. He was a little bit naughty the other day too. But he does play on that spooking thing a bit, the horse. But now, because I ride him more often, of course, I think I'm just, on days when I'm feeling that I don't want to ride because he's been naughty, that little comment comes back into my head, just ride. Don't do anything, just be in the moment, because there's no point thinking about the past, there's no thinking about what might happen, just ride in the moment.
Yeah.
Because that's all you've got with the horse at that time.
So you've really turned things around from being pretty frightened to you own it. You get on that horse and you ride it.
Yeah, I do the best I can. Some days are harder than others, but I guess that's the same for everybody. But it was either sink or swim, and I had to make it happen with this horse. Otherwise, I was just going to have this horse sitting there with a very pretty paddock ornament.
Good on you, girl.
Thank you.